shortly with Isaac Wright, who's Democratic strategist. Isaac was late of the Correct the Record, some would call it Defend the Record, Super PAC, and which worked heavily with Hillary Clinton. I want to cover a variety of topics with him, but hopefully we'll be able to get him on just a bit. One of the ones out there, of course, is the issue, and there was a saber rattling yesterday by North Korea. They fired off another missile. Apparently, according to our intelligence, it exploded moments after launch. And so there's a positive aspect, I suppose you could say there, and a negative, that they're at it testing again. Under that background, you've got what just happened in London with the terror attacks, the whole flap over surveillance here that intensified yesterday with House Intel report coming out that the Democrats on that committee immediately said, yeah, that may not be what you say it is. They have a problem there. And the Obamacare vote. All of this playing out at the same time, concurrently. Let's talk about it this morning with Isaac Wright. Again, late of the Correct the Record Super PAC. Isaac, good morning.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, let's first start with international affairs. The Korean missile launch, which apparently went boom. Not necessarily dud, but they fired another one, exploded. You've got Tillerson coming up with his visit. It's coinciding with the Secretary of State's trip to China. You also have what's going on in London. World events now will test this president.
Yeah, I think you cannot lessen the threat of North Korea because of the early explosion of this most recent missile and the fact it sort of detonated on takeoff. The crisis is still just as real. The threat is still just as real with North Korea. I mean, earlier this month, they launched 4 missiles simultaneously, which was a significant message to the West, and it was a significant test because we are in the process of installing what started under the last administration, the THAAD missile defense system, if you're familiar with the THAAD, in South Korea that can knock out descending missiles as a defense system for missile attacks. And the ability to launch that many rockets, that many missiles simultaneously is a way to try to skirt and get around, at least with 1 or 2 of those missiles, around the missile defense system. So this was a very aggressive posturing, and this is a significant move in technology from North Korea for its ballistic missile system, which, as we all know, they are trying to tip with potentially with nuclear weapons, which would be very, very dangerous.
How important is it to get into this mix? And we've heard seen the headlines over the last week and a half or so with John Huntsman to be named ambassador to Russia. But his background with the Chinese and with trying to corral North Korea, is he a possible player in all this in a big way as well because of his past background?
Well, that's a really good point that you're getting to, which is the role of China in these negotiations, whether that's through an Ambassador Huntsman, whether it's through the Department of State and a different channel under Secretary Tillerson. The importance of the role of China cannot be underplayed. China is the major economic lifeline for North Korea. The sanctions that we have imposed, that we and our allies have imposed, have definitely had an effect in North Korea. Right now, 2 in 5 or 4 in 10, if you want to count it that way, of the North Korean population are undernourished. 70% of the population relies on food aid, according to the United Nations study. The sanctions are taking their toll on North Korea, but obviously there's much more to go to be able to negotiate this situation. And China, as their key trading partner, is key to that. You know, China has recently started to rebuff at our urging some of the coal exports from North Korea. As you may know, the predominant economic pillar North Korea is their coal export to China.
Sure.
So that is a crucial thing, and there are additional avenues that we could consider, such as sanctions on Chinese banks or industries specifically that do business with North Korea, as yet another means to tighten those sanctions diplomatically. Senator Corker from Tennessee, if you're familiar with him,
sure,
who's very active with the Foreign Relations Committee, made a comment the other day. Basically, there are three choices: proactive regime change, topple Kim Jong Un, sanctions and other coercive measures like what you and I are talking about, or military cooperation with Japan and South Korea that could include a preemptive strike on missile facilities. The problem with the idea of a preemptive strike is North Korea's ballistic missile system and their nuclear development is very spread out. It's not concentrated geographically. So it's really hard to believe that in a single wave you can take it all out at once. It would involve a series of waves and strikes, in between which you would have a Pyongyang that was armed and dangerous and retaliating. So you would be looking then at retaliations against the U.S. or against our bases in South Korea.
Yeah, I was about to say, raising their hand saying, can we weigh in on this, are the folks from Seoul in South Korea who are across the parallel.
There's 56 clicks from North Korea, and you're looking at millions of casualties potentially.
Real quick before we let you go, Isaac, you've got North Korea, you've got Russia, the Russia probe, you've got terrorism involving our allies, you've got ISIS on the run, but maybe involved there. You have the Obamacare vote, you have the economy. Is this president doing okay multitasking with his people right now, or leaving things wanting?
At least in the North Korea situation, it looks like we're leaving things wanting. That's not to say that won't change in the next 12 to 24 hours. We can only hope that will be the case. But so far, there's not been direction or a plan from Secretary Tillerson, and he was very direct in his comments from China on his Asian tour when he said that diplomacy with North Korea had failed. That is a big and broad statement. That is a definitive statement, and it needs to be followed up very quickly with a direction, with a Tillerson doctrine, if you will, with a direction from the administration on where we're going to go on one of the most pressing military threats of our time.
Isaac Wright, Democratic strategist, formerly executive director at the Correct the Record Super PAC, aligned with the candidate Hillary Clinton. Isaac, thanks for being here very much. Good stuff.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed getting to talk to you.
All right. Appreciate